I knew that Dominick Puni would be a very, very good football player, but I didn't recognize that he'd be this good this fast. Puni, in his NFL debut against the Jets, was absolutely incredible, and today we're going to talk about it. In total, Puni played 73 total snaps, but really, the guy only gave up one pressure on those 73 snaps, and he had a lot of really good run blocks, and that's kind of where I want to start. I want to talk about Puni's ability in run blocking, because that's where he's going to make his money. But you guys, check this play out. You're going to get a zone run towards the right. So what that means is Puni needs to try to hook off number 97, and if he's not able to hook him off, he needs to hold on to him as long as possible so the running back can hit it to the outside. And this is a very difficult block because that defensive lineman is lined up in the long 3-tech. So essentially what that means is number 97 is so far outside of the shoulder of 77 that he's going to essentially jump this gap, right? He's going to play that gap. He's not going to allow 77 to get in front of it. But Puni does a pretty good job being able to grab onto number 97. He holds it long enough, or as long as he could. He obviously gets cut off right there by the defensive end. But it's a pretty good job. Right, this play picks up 7 yards. And in run blocking specifically, the guy was incredible. Right? He did so many good things. He reach blocked. He was cutting people off. Take this play right here as an example. He's going to do a phenomenal job being able to climb, and he's going to end up cutting off the front side. Nickel defender specifically ends up being Sauce Gardner on this one. But he does a great job being able to get out there, and I love the fact that as he climbs, as he gets out of there, he finds a guy that he can block, and he ends up just flipping his hips. And he ends up staying attached to this guy right here. And this play popped for a pretty big gain. Now, this one doesn't actually count and ends up coming back. But again, you see that reachability that Puni has. You see that this guy's able to get in front of defensive linemen and cut them off, and that ultimately allows his guys to have success. You got a touchdown run here. It does come back once again, unfortunately, but once again, you got a guy lined up in that 3-tech, right? You got a guy lined up outside shoulder, and this guy's trying to hold that gap. And Puni just straight up ends up getting in front of this guy. Look at him flip the hips. Look at him stay right in front of this. It literally does not get better than that. You will probably not see a better block than this right here by anybody across the NFL. But for a rookie to be able to come in and do this, absolutely incredible. Love the footwork, love the quickness. Love the fact that right out of his stance, he makes sure to get his helmet on the right side. You know, I expected Puni to be a very good offensive lineman for coming out of Kansas, especially since he went to the 49ers. But I really did not expect it to ultimately happen the way it did, how quickly it happened. Now, he will have to develop his pass pro, but before we get into that, I want to just show you guys a couple more run plays. So there are a couple of things that Puni does need to get better at when it comes to run blocking. That's going to be mostly based on power-based concepts. So on this one here, he's going to have a down block, and he's going to not be able to kind of hold this block. Now, this is not a big deal, right? He has to obviously block a really good defensive tackle on this one. But you can see that he's going to end up getting tossed out of here. Now, keep in mind, zone runs, power runs are two different type of concepts. Zone, you're usually using your quickness, you're using your, the mental processing, right? You're using your brain essentially to be able to cut guys off and just kind of block towards an area. And when it comes to power runs, it's mostly based off of the angle you take on these down blocks. Now, this is not a good down block. You can tell Puni way overplays this. The helmet's going to end up landing way too far towards the left. The helmet should land, if you guys keep an eye on the center 64 here, the center's helmet lands to the right side of this defensive lineman. This is how Puni should ultimately make contact with the nose tackle here. But he's not going to end up doing that. Right, the helmet's going to land to the left side, and you can see the defense tackler is going to end up just getting off the block. It's not a huge deal, right, but it's just the little things that he has to clean up, right, getting better when it comes to down blocking, get better when it comes to double teaming, right, on this one here. You see that they're going to essentially double team. Now, this is more so of an inside zone as opposed to like that wide outside zone that Shanahan loves to run. So you do get that double team on the 2-eye technique defense tackle. And he does kind of get tossed on this one. Again, so just getting a little bit stronger, getting a little bit more powerful. And it's just one more I want to show you guys where, it's just a little bit of improvement. Again, not a huge deal, right? It's just the little things that he has to continue to work on in the run game. And I do think he'll get better at these little things, right? Because Puni's in his very first ever NFL game. He's in his first NFL season. So what that means is he's going to get stronger as he goes in from year 1 to year 2. Right, he'll get a lot better. He'll get a lot more powerful. And as he gets more reps, especially, he'll start to recognize things that work, things that don't work. This one's a pretty good rep here. He's going to make good contact with his defensive lineman. Helmet lands to the inside, which is perfect. Hands land underneath. And then he's going to be able to just kind of push this guy outwards. It's a pretty good rep right there. This one does pick up 8 yards. This was 3rd and 2. It's a pretty nice job. Let's get into the next snap. Overall, Puni is a very, very solid run blocker. I think the guy's going to end up, over the next couple of weeks, is getting better and better and better. And I was actually surprised that the 49ers had so much success even without Christian McCaffrey. But I guess I'm not surprised when you think about the run game coordinator that the 49ers have. Now, with that being stated, I do want to switch focus, and I do want to get into some of Puni's pass blocking abilities. I do think he'll have to continue to develop his pass blocking, but there are positives, there are negatives. One of the positives with Puni, and you can see this in his run blocking as well, but essentially it's that he has good footwork. So on this one here, he's going to do a great job making contact with Solomon Thomas. As he makes contact, you watch him just stay right in front of Thomas. Thomas is going to try to swim over the top, and Puni's not going to allow that to happen. Right? That's a really good rep right there by Puni. Thomas swims. You might say that's a hold. I don't think that's necessarily a hold because Puni ends up moving the feet, right? It's not like the feet stop and he leans forward. He keeps the feet moving. He stays in front of Thomas, and I think that's a big factor as to why you're not going to call that a hold. So it's a pretty good rep right there to show off that footwork. Here's another one. He's going to get into a 45-degree set, and the defense tackle is going to cross his face, and he's going to have to get right back in front of that. So again, you're going to see him do a pretty good job with the footwork. He's going to get into that 45-degree set. As soon as he gets out of there, you see number 94 slants hard towards the inside. He also rips. And Puni does a good job with the feet, just moving, getting right back in front of this guy. And he keeps his hands on him. Now, this is a defensive line game, right? You can see that the two guys are slanting towards the left. You also see the other defensive tackle here is coming around. And they do a pretty good job being able to pick it up. Although I will say that, Puni does have to make sure that he's able to pass this off. To make sure this is cleanly passed off, how it should work is Puni should theoretically pass this guy off to number 64. Puni should then at that point take on the defensive end. And then when the defensive tackle comes back around this way, it would be Colton McKivitz that ends up picking him up. So that is how you would want to pass this defensive line game off. And that's just something he has to improve on. But again, first game in the NFL, the Jets have a phenomenal defensive line. But to be fair, the 49ers did a really good job handling them yesterday. We got another one. Once again, Puni's going to do a really good job with the footwork. But I do want to touch on this a little bit. He does have to be careful a little bit with his hands. He has to be careful with the way he kind of makes contact with guys. So first and foremost, this is a pretty good job initially with the footwork. Right? He makes contact with this guy. The left hand does land high. The right hand lands kind of to the inside. That could get you in trouble. Right? It doesn't on this one. This is a great rep for Puni to just kind of stay in front of number 94. But when you do land the hands high, essentially you're giving yourself up to potentially be called for a hold. And here's an example of that. So Puni, once again, he's going to be going up against the defensive tackle here. And the left hand is once again going to land high. And usually, you're able to have a certain punch, right? Guys do things differently. You are able to get the left hand up if you want to grab onto that shoulder pad. Right hand, maybe you land to the inside chest. It does look like that's what Puni wants to do. He wants the right hand to land low, the left hand to land high. But the thing is if a guy crosses your face with that left hand, now you can see the left hand, right? It's latched into the shoulder pad. What happens when that left hand is high? When a guy crosses your face, well, if that left hand is high and a guy crosses your face, if you don't let go, you can get caught for a hold. This might not actually be a hold, right? But to an NFL referee, this might actually look like a hold. So this is something he just has to be careful with as he kind of goes forward. You don't want to get caught the way it kind of looks right there where the left hand is high and a guy ultimately crosses your face. You can definitely tell that left hand does land high sometimes, and he is put into a bad spot essentially, right? Again, not a big deal. I did want to point it out. Here's another example of that. The left hand's going to end up landing high. The right hand's going to be on the hip area or the chest plate area. And as the defensive lineman tries to shed, you can tell that left hand almost looks like it's holding. Again, I only point this out because this is part of developing, right? These are little things he will have to improve on. Left hand, you can tell, is landed at the shoulder pad, and that's okay. But when a guy's going to essentially toss you forward or he's going to pull you, that left hand right there could essentially lead to a hold, right? So again, just something to kind of keep an eye on. Probably not a big deal. Overall, I did like Puni's tape, right? Run blocking, the guy was phenomenal for most of his snaps. In pass pro, the guy was phenomenal as well, right? The guy did a really good job being able to see certain things. He used the processing he had. He used the mental awareness, right? And just the football IQ he has to be able to kind of help some of the other offensive linemen. On this one here, you got a guy playing the long three technique once again. You got a defensive end lined up way out wide, but the defensive end's going to drop off. So as soon as this defensive lineman drops off, Puni recognizes that the other defensive tackle here, the guy that was playing that long 3 technique, could be passed off to the tackle. As long as the tackle has him, he can come back to the inside and help that center out. And on this play here specifically, you see the center actually ends up losing on this one. You can see the center is going to end up getting kind of pulled and then tossed towards the side. And Puni does a great job coming here and helping number 64 out. So that's a good job right there to be able to kind of get in there and ultimately help out the center. Pretty nice rep right there. You got another one here. Puni's going to try to help the right tackle. He's not able to actually fully help him, but he does do a good job to at least try to essentially help him. To me, the fact that the defensive end lined up doesn't actually come, and Puni's able to recognize that quick enough that he's not coming, he's able to actually try to help this tackle out. And he's just half a second slow on this one, but it's not a big deal, right? This guy is not Puni's responsibility. Mikiewicz has to do a much better job. Also understand the actual defensive tackle it is, right? I think a lot of people will say Quentin Williams is probably like one of the top 2 or 3 guys at that position. But again, you see that mental processing. You see that football awareness by Dominick Puni. All right, you see him recognize the little things, and he tries. And the speed of the game might be a little fast for him right now, but you know, he'll hit year 2, year 3, year 4 down the line, and I don't think he's going to struggle with the little things that he's already showing us that he's able to do. But because of the speed of the game, he just hasn't fully adjusted to yet. Overall, Dominick Puni was very, very impressive in my opinion. From top to bottom, the guy pretty much won majority of those 73 snaps that he played. All right, of those 73 snaps, I'd say about 65 of them he 100% won. There may be like 3 or 4 that were questionable on if he won, and he lost like 1 or 2 snaps. But generally speaking, that's pretty good considering that this guy's a rookie. Considering he's going up against a really, really good defensive line, and it's his very first NFL action. All right, Dominick Puni handled himself very, very well. I'm excited to watch this guy as he continues to develop over the course of his career. Very excited to see what this guy's able to do as he continues to develop in this scheme and system. I felt like the 49ers were a great fit based off of what he did at Kansas. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys did, consider subscribing. We will definitely be doing a lot more film content on this channel. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time with another video.